needed in the central jury room. This is the courthouse restoration meeting, and the first item on the agenda is have a progress from Stoddard.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Progress meeting number 38, August 2nd. Sign sheet is going around. Safety update, everything's good there. Still conducting weekly safety meetings. No accidents. Our next scheduled meeting is August 16th in the central jury room at 10 a.m. And 2 week look ahead, Stoddard is we've done all our frame up on our fur down, so now we're sheet rocking them. And as soon as we're done sheet rocking them, the plaster is falling right behind us. We're tying up rebar for the handicap ramp and continuing metal ceiling. Courtroom's all done, so they're in our tank. Gensler, our electrician, is continuing courtroom lighting rough in. They're starting to install ceiling light fixtures at all metal ceilings that are painted.
Before you go on there, on that, you said they're painting. We were in there yesterday.
Yes.
They're painting the courtroom. All the beams that the color they're painting right now.
Yes.
That brown color, and then the ceilings, whatever they're gonna spray.
Yeah.
That's contrast.
There's another color.
There's two browns.
Yeah.
On the box beams.
By the end of this week, it should be shaping up pretty nice.
Okay.
And we plastered, I punched all the plaster in the stairwell in the main corridor, so we're going to start painting those so we can get light fixtures installed there. Our wood guy is continuing windows. He's almost done with those, and he's heavy in the door jams right now. He is bringing out those two windows down in the 11. At this time also. Looks like doors are delivered at the end of this month. Our plaster.
I approved that same.
Okay. Oh, okay, great. I'm sorry, I'll take that off. Plaster again, he's working on the fur downs right now that we're finishing. All the other areas he's done, and I'm just going through and punching them, making sure it's ready for paint. Flooring guy is pretty much done throughout the building except in the courtroom, and that's where he's working right now. As he cleans floors, I'm going to go through and punch those. Any places that need a little more work or something that me and Jeff were looking at this morning, there's a couple of areas that look like they would maybe delineate or delaminate too much. So we're going to have those areas replaced. Susan, Jeff's already seen it, but I do have up on the northeast corner room, I do have a room that we got cleaned with the machine with brushes. Looks good. And we've also gone ahead and put a couple of filters on so you can see the clean product and the finished product. We can get that out. Painter is in the courtroom. He's going to be working on the walls, down the stairwells, and the main corridor. And he is, I didn't put this on the agenda, but he is also cleaning the outside himself. Washing it.
He's cleaning the outside of the facility?
Yes.
Okay. With just water?
Yes. Okay. And here towards here the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to start stenciling in the courtroom. All that block wall pattern and the decorative stenciling up top. And that gets me to training update. Ross here.
We're still on schedule. The two makeup area units we started up on the 15th. We're working through those.
I think Ross and I called the fire sprinkler guy. We'll go ahead and get him in there and finish up for the sprinkler in the courtroom. I think everything's going along pretty well there. Tim's not here today.
Cox here.
Not here. In updates.
I went to the subcontractors meeting this morning. I've taken some notes to get a hold of some folks. We've got to get some covers for the floor boxes, some masonite covers, so that they don't get scratched up. And we talked some about what we're going to do about the holes in the basement. And that's about it. I talked with the painter this morning. Apparently the elevator guys don't want to come until everything's done in their little room. I talked to the painter this morning. He's gonna finish off the walls inside that little enclosure where their equipment is and go ahead and get that painted.
One thing while Cotton's talking, Tim had a medical issue, he's why he's not here this morning, but he was in my office this past week, and we need some help on locating granite. I mean, places to go look at granite, Jeff or Lee or Susan, because some that he's looked at, put around the base of the courthouse, but the finished product wasn't when he brought it in, he showed me in Mike last week, not what we've seen at Boston County and some of the courthouse at Johnson. So we need some direction on where he could go look and get to work on that. Okay.
That gets us to.
Speaking on the covering the holes in the basement, we had talked about that once before, putting up plywood or going back and taking some of the stone that you come out and using the stone. And how are we going to be plugging up some of those?
I think it's gonna be, we're gonna use the rock.
The rock that's out there and just use it and mortar back in.
And Tim's been with John. I haven't had a chance to talk to him this morning, but I know Tim's been talking to John. There's a community service guy that's a mason right now. They were trying to get something coordinated about that.
You understand, Sue, what he's talking about? Doing those week
Well,
looking.
no, I think I'll have to,
There are just areas in between some of the basement walls that go all the way down, and there's holes that's been punched through, pipes and crawl holes
and then that are no longer.
yeah, but we've got conditioned space, like at that far corner, and a conditioned space there, and it's just leaking everywhere, so all those need to be plugged up because of conditioned space. As well as that basement room, as the other basement room, we'll put some Lexan right behind the grill, so we can have the grill out in front, the Lexan right behind it, and that would get sealed, so that will, and so that's the way we'll enclose everything, all those two areas of the basement.
Lee, I kind of pointed out this morning that if those do get closed in, that now is the time and opportunity to put something in place there. If it's an empty conduit or two or three in each one of those, even if we plug the conduit, that the conduit's there because things are gonna need to be added and subtracted as we go along here. And then access panels into those other areas, I think you had brought that up, that those panels are gonna have to be in place there so that you can actually get into the floor of the crawl space.
Yeah, I'm gonna get with Jeff today on
Right.
room 111.
And 111 has actually plans on showing that basement wall that divides it between the two down below.
But you can get.
And across, yeah, you can get between those with the crawl space that's in. Okay, so we only need one way to get down from 111, and then we can bridge
We
over.
just need to know which location you want.
Okay.
So we'll get that. We'll get to that. And then Jackie, I guess you're up.
Just a couple of things. Tim and I have been meeting pretty regular in the mornings to go over and look at little things that are coming up, during the day, during the week. One of the next pieces of projects coming up for us is to re-terminate the AT&T lines, Lee, that come into the building. So I've been working with Tim and I'm talking to Cotton too about this morning, about getting the plywood mounted and then let the painter paint that to match so that we can reinstall that AT&T demarc unit and also tie in that 100 pair cable that goes up to the third floor. That's just one of those additional, this is something outside, Judge. This is one of the things I was telling you about. This is outside of what Visual Innovations they do. This is not theirs, this belongs to us locally. Also, kind of coinciding with that, Tim came up with a couple of needs for phone lines that he found, he was notified of these. He called me and told me, but there's going to need to be a permanent phone line there for the elevator and a permanent phone line for the fire alarm system. We know of at least those two. There was a thought that he thought that there was one other one that someone was saying that they needed in there, but we know of at least those two that are going to need to be in place. The elevator certainly needs to be in place. We're going to have it operational so that those guys, when they come to check the elevator, but they don't fail the elevator because it doesn't have the phone line. Fire alarm as well. So it actually has a check on it as well. So it's one of those things, and I'm trying to get a date from them, Judge, just to make sure of when we want to order that, so that we're not paying for months that we're not using it, but when we do have to order it, get it in, get it installed. And so I'll come, and then I'll bring that to purchasing and work that out, how that's going to go through purchasing.
Well, all that needs to be done before the inspection and so forth.
Yes, sir. I'm waiting for another quote back for testing the existing fiber. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting my second quote back for that, to do a full test on that to validate that our fiber is either good or not good. So that we'll know if we have an issue with that or not. Fiber's kind of old, so I have a little bit of concern there, but I feel a lot better when we get that thing checked out, and then we'll know one way or the other. And I think that's it, unless someone has questions from our standpoint.
Calendar square fence, we've still got about a month for the next one. Submittals, it's an ongoing process. I don't foresee a whole lot more coming at this point. There are no RFIs outstanding from us or training. Safety materials, that's not an issue at this point. Closeout procedures, we're going to start contacting subs and start to get closeout documents. Paint proposal, CPR 4 is pending, and additional project discussion items. And I've left this on there just to kind of track it on the city of Granbury upgrading electrical.
They're here.
Okay. If there's anything that we need to talk about.
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
The proposal that the city has is we're going to lay some conduit that's going to allow for future installation of upgrade for electrical panels around the parking lot perimeter, as well as upgrading a distribution point at each one of the inside corners on the lawn of the courthouse. What's going to be involved from the city's perspective is to dig some trenches that are going to cut across the parking lot. It was suggested that we limit it to just 4 trenches. We'll be laying conduit side by side, 2-inch conduits, and then once they get out to the perimeter of the parking lot square, we would wind up branching those off on sweep 90s to facilitate all 4 corners of the square and the islands there. Our hope is that somebody has an actual map and the engineer's plan drawing of where the wellheads are. Because I've got the coordinates from the groundwater district, but they were based upon a point of origin that we'll have to try to locate. That's at each one of the corners, and it's based on a southwest corner and the southeast corner as to where they plotted each one of those coordinates for the wellheads. So hopefully Train will have that information in an engineer's drawing with the exact locations and also how they interconnected the pipe, because it's my understanding it's a loop system. So there's bound to be some interconnecting pipes to join all the wellheads. And in addition to that, before we go into the ground, we want to make sure that there's some sort of a certificate that shows us what the pressure is before we start our line of construction of the well pressure. And then afterwards, we'd like to have that same test performed so that we can make sure that we didn't cause any kind of a damage, so that we can eliminate any liability on the city's half. The other issue is our proposal is to go as low as 12 inches below grade and then pour 6 inches of concrete on top of that, and then allow a little bit of difference in grade for some base to go back in on top of that concrete, and hope that that should alleviate any concerns over settlement in those trenches. The other issue that we've got is we need to know where the fiber optic line is for mapping purposes as well. We also, I think we have an idea as to where the electrical conduit is running, and we know where the city sewer line is running off from the square. So with that information, we should be able to be conscientious enough to know where to avoid those wellheads and move forward with an interlocal agreement that hopefully everybody's had a chance to peruse it, and we can get the nod to take it back to city council from you guys that you are in agreement with this, and we can get the ball rolling from the city's perspective. The only other issue we need to know is the time frame. When do you actually expect to have the asphalt coming in?
Right now, September 19th is what we're.
And our hope is to do a lot of the trenching and stuff in the evening hours, probably after the 5 o'clock hour, to minimize any parking lot concerns. And we'll probably try to tackle, one side of the square at a time, so we don't cause any issues. So, any questions?
Well, I'm sure that commissioners are going to have questions about the agreement, and did you send this to Kelton?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
Sure.
and he may have some changes on it too.
We haven't heard anything back from Kelton as of this moment, but
I wouldn't expect
we're
it
hoping
to.
that you can move forward with this, and then we can get this to council in early part of August
Okay.
for their approval. And then we,
What I'd like to see on 4 city duties is it needs to have the 4 trenches listed out, and the depth needs to be represented for a perpetual document for years to come, so people know there's 4 trenches and they know the depth that they are.
well, our plan is to actually GPS plot all of our coordinates.
Okay, but you just said you want to go 12 inches with 12 inches of concrete, that needs to be listed in your document.
That's not a problem.
Also, I
Access
think
to-
Tim, when he talked to me about it, he would like some as-built drawings for those boxes.
Yeah, it's my understanding the boxes are just gonna be recessed and laid into the paving, much like any other street road box would be.
Okay.
We can do that.
So we need to see it though, because it's a liability in the parking lot, that's what we're asking there, so we need a copy or a picture of that, so we can.
We can do
pass it
that.
on to the state, so.
All right, well, we'll
Thanks.
work on it. Thank you.
Appreciate the time, guys.
Thank you.
Commissioner's bench
So we just
details, I
need
think
to
Jeff's
get,
got some warrants here that we can hopefully finalize this thing.
What's this on there?
This is the drawing that, Susan, do you want to give it to her? This is a drawing that was sent out to everyone. And we had some notes on it, and then I was gonna pick whatever tweaks that we needed to do from this point on. There was questions on holding this back off this rail. And this was the plan that, the previous plan that was approved. This is the plan that the court was liking. And you had thoughts about doing something different to this, and I was gonna pick that up and make this one last final change.
Well, the only thing that I mentioned concern about was, as you can see, the vault door is going to be a spectacular piece in the courtroom, and so I had just expressed concern that the new bench, the old bench was between here and here. And so the new bench, extends in front of that vault door and obscures it from the courtroom view.
What you're looking at on this one here was the elevation basically of this one. Of course, I didn't have a railing shown for some reason on this plan here, but showing that there was a railing here that would have prevented any step-ups if this one was deemed close to being okay. But did you have issues of the wings overlapping here? So the bench going all the way to the rail?
No, I didn't have concerns, about this design, and I may have misunderstood Commissioner Barry's email. I thought you had said that you liked, this design, but that you all had looked, you and Commissioner Simpson, I guess, had looked at fitting it between these doors, but maybe I misunderstood. And I mean, I assume that you are still concerned about step up here? Are you concerned?
And we certainly could put a rail in front there if need be, if we're gonna.
As long as you let him play a platform for the rail, okay? If you see right here, this is dead space. I mean, that's a great place for people to fall off or break an ankle. So as long as you let him bring the platform all the way to the rails, that's only 12 inches, okay?
Right.
Then if you square this off, just inside the doors, is the way we measured it, because that's the plan. When we went down there, just inside the doors, you can still see it from that whole side of the courtroom, you can still see it. But it's squared off panel. That way it's a walk here and a walk here, we can live with it. But this has got to go all the way
Yeah.
Right.
to the rail.
I agree. And are y'all concerned about having a rail?
The rail will be back here.
Okay, so that, and that's a low, what's
Well,
the-
now since we step up 12 inches, this rail is roughly, let's see.
To get slower.
I just didn't know if that rail was enough, and I didn't know if you wanted a second rail up on the platform.
2'8" is the rail.
So it'll be 18 inches above the grade.
So, I mean, I don't know if you all feel comfortable that that's enough to keep people from.
I think it's enough to keep people from stepping in that direction. It's gonna be.
Rolling off in a chair.
It's gonna hit them at
Or
the
rolling
knee.
off on a chair.
Right. It's gonna hit
Now,
them.
what about having something at the front?
Well, if you're
Yeah,
gonna build
square
it
it,
out,
if you
you'd
square
be
it
smart
out.
to put a step here,
Yeah, you would.
okay? If you allow it, because you're gonna use this.
Okay.
No way around it. If she's gonna leave it open like that, there's no way around it. They're gonna use it.
Well, we can talk, one of the things that
I
I
don't like the rail.
sent, okay, you don't want a rail, okay.
So you don't like it like this?
It's gonna be confusing to the people trying to get up there and go to the judge's meeting.
Okay, so we'll have a step right here. Is it a step that's gonna be a permanent step, or is it a step that would be put in
Well,
there?
Judge Tuggle's in the audience, but he has a question, is, you know, if you come, he's gonna use this for jury trials, and so how are you gonna bring the defendant up here to set it at the bench? So you gotta have a step here to let him walk up. Now, if they're in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
obviously you're gonna bring him around, he's gonna have to recuse himself to slide around to stop right here, because the jury's on this side here.
Yeah.
But that's one reason when me and Mike went and measured it out and laid it out down there, you know, you don't want your people coming up and walking behind the judge and his clerks to come to the stand. There's no way to get in from this side.
Right.
So by stopping it right here, put the step here, if anybody wants to step off when we're doing presentations and come around in front of the court, it gives you a way to get down easy. It's not real wide, it's not probably ADA approved, but the average person can step up and walk around and sit right here in this chair for JP court. And
That's
still,
your witness?
that's your witness, these are your clerks, and this will be your judge.
But they'll have to have access, and it'd be preferable on that side. And if they're having to use a wheelchair, like I say, you know, if we've got to get out of the way, let them get through there, that's not a problem. But on the average, for average court, we have quite a bit of it.
Could this one even be made modified for witness?
Well, because there's a jury.
The jury.
Oh, right, right, right.
Then
you're good with seeing them.
Yes.
Here, the jury can hear them clearly and see them.
Okay.
I think you square this up like this, so it makes it look more like it's symmetrical with everything that's going on. But it needs to be about the header needs to be about 6 inches inside each door, okay? And you can still see this ball, but you couldn't see the ball even over here ever, okay, anyway.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is a great.
Straight line shot.
Okay. I'll make those modifications and then
But the floor will go all the way to the rail on both sides.
Yes, yes,
That's the safety issue.
definitely. No, I've always agreed with that. I think that's a good idea.
Real good. Is that settled in?
So I think it is.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing.
I'll make those modifications this afternoon and get it over to you.
All right, very good.
Okay, thanks. Item 3, Susan, this is one that, one of those meetings we've been there and looked at.
Oh, right. So, yeah, so the cooler that Jeff and I selected was, I think it was Jeff and I, it was in really great condition, but the plaster. So I think since it's gone, to try to preserve that other one, it's just not in good condition. It would look terrible.
Are you okay with the top?
Sure.
We could leave the top section up there, and it's also not visible. Right?
Yes.
part we talked about up on.
Yeah, I think it's better to have it around the corner so that it's not, when you walk in, you're not seeing this.
It can be pointed out to the poor group,
Right,
but it's
but it's
not
not
stand out.
Yeah.
That makes it simpler to put the bottom of the plane.
Yes. Okay, great, thank you. Good. That's it I've got. I'm just hoping for any new discussion items anybody has this morning.
Just got one, it's just a follow-up on something we discussed earlier, about adjusting the elevator stops down, to floor levels, so that we have the accessibility on the elevator. So I know, we talked about the elevator guys coming out, I know that Tim had checked with them on the feasibility of that, and they said.
They can do it, but it's gotta be after you've got a floor level finished.
Right, so it has to be coordinated with flooring, so I just wanted to keep that, on your stuff.
Because they are gonna be a little different. Trip area.
And that'll be an issue.
Any other new issues? I'm sorry, I'm taking over your.
Sorry.
Any other new issues? Nothing? All right, well, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is consider and take appropriate action regarding the signing of the FY. This has nothing to do with you guys, so, this is something that's kind of an emergency that we had to put on here. Renewal of the Department of Family Protective Services, Hood County Child Welfare Board contract. Each one of you has a copy of that. It's, John, anyone need to- Thank you, Susan.
We're gonna need it, we'll just won't take it.
Any comments about this?
It's pretty straightforward.
Do you think on the,
I'm not sure. We could always address that.
They need to send August 8th, so we're not gonna be able to determine that.
No.
well, that's their call.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve this contract. Motion made by Commissioner Simpson, seconded by Commissioner Roan. Is there any discussion? And all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And I will sign it. Thank y'all very much. And that adjourns the meeting.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah. So like they let me know. Well, because if it's copied, yeah, but it's copied black. They want to know what's in it. Oh.